Howdy, this is Cowboy Nation 1977, and today I'm bringing you a video because I finally went and picked up the gun that I had ordered. If you guys watched any of my previous videos, you would know what this gun is, but I waited a very long time to get this gun, and it's finally here, and I will now show you dun, da, 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 my very special to me Colt Mark IV Series 70 government model 1911. I'll show you guys this right here. Y'all check this out. Light will work with me. Maybe the light will work with me. I can get this done. So, today I'm going to be doing a disassembly video, and I know a lot of people have already done that, and that's alright. I'm going to do mine in my own little special way. And I'm going to give you a little bit extra that I usually don't see anybody else do. And we'll work with it from there. So, this would be my very first pistol that I've purchased on my own. And, of course, I've never had anybody else ever buy me a pistol either. But I spent a lot of time on the range renting 1911s and practicing with 1911s, and I really liked the 1911s. And I really like the 1911's historic value. Now, I'm not going to get into the historic value of 1911. If you want to know about that, there's plenty of other people that will explain it a whole lot better than I can. So, with that being said, I bought the 70 series 1911 because, one, I love historic value of things, and two, the series 70 keeps it original to what it used to be in World War II and in the 1970s back in Vietnam and Korea and all that. So, with this being a reproduction model of the Series 70, I had to have the Series 70 over the Series 80 and all that. Plus, I kind of would like to have a really nice trigger job done to this so that with the Series 80 that can cause issues. Now, I chose the blue model, again with historic value, so I decided to choose blue. But, we're going to show you now, the gun does not have a magazine, and that, you look in here, there is no chamber, there's nothing chambered, and we'll begin the disassembly. So, start off with, you go to your recoil spring plug, I believe it is called. If I ever not call something by what it is or something like that. Kind of new to a lot of this, and to be honest, I really don't remember what a lot of parts are. But I mean, I know what most of them are, but there's some of them I really don't know. So, this is the recoil spring plug, I believe, and we're going to depress this, and I'm going to push this barrel bushing clockwise, and I kind of get it most of the way, and then I switch my hands around so I don't lose my recoil spring plug, shoot it across the room, and from there I'm going to take it and I'm going to pull the slide back. Well, first I got to cock the hammer. I'm going to cock the hammer, I'm going to pull the slide back, and if you see me fighting with the gun at all, it's because it's still very new. I've put about 50 rounds through it, and that's about it. So I haven't really had the chance yet to really go out in the range and really do some real shooting with it, other than just in my backyard. With that being said, I'm going to push out the slide stop right here. I'm going to set that aside. And from there, I'm just going to push this whole assembly forward and off the rail, off the frame, off the rails. From here, we're going to take our guide rod and recoil spring out. Then we'll go back to this barrel bushing on the front, and we're going to rotate it counterclockwise, just like that. And we're going to pull this out. Alright, set that aside. Now from there, we take our barrel, we're going to push on it, up from the bottom. We're going to push it up, push it out. And that is how you disassemble a government model 1911. Now, the part I'm going to show you that I haven't seen anybody else show you how to do, unless you were specifically looking it up, is how to remove the firing pin and the extractor right here. So here's your firing pin, and here's your extractor. I'm going to show you all how to do that. The store that I bought this from, that is local to me, the gunsmith showed me how to do this. So I'm going to push down the firing pin with something. I'm just using this homemade kind of steel rod / punch I use on some of my other guns. Just going to push that down. I'm just going to slide this. I'm going to call it retaining plate because I don't know what it actually is. So this is I'm going to slide this retaining plate back, but I'm going to put my finger over it over here so that I don't have the firing pin shoot out across the room and then I lose it. And then I'm going to take this little rod I got here and push it the rest of the way out. Push that plate the rest of the way out, and from there there we go. I got this little retaining plate that holds the firing pin out. And then we'll take out the firing pin with the firing pin spring. And then from there, we can take something, just grab it right here on this lip, and pull out our extractor. If she'll come. There she goes. No pun intended. But once that is done, you have everything in the slide disassembled with the Series 70 model. Now with the Series 80 model, you're going to have some other pieces in here that create a firing pin block, which I'm not going to get into and explain. But that's pretty much it. Now, I can come over here to my firing pin, and if I take it and I twist it backwards like I'm trying to unscrew a screw, I can get the spring right off of the firing pin and then clean my firing pin or do whatever I gotta do with that. Now with this spring, I want you guys to note that there is a small end to the spring and there is a larger end to the spring. If you take this firing pin, you put it on the large end, it'll kind of freely move. But if you take it to the smaller end, you'll notice that it'll get stuck and it won't go all the way back. And just remember to always put the spring back on with the smaller end to the firing pin. Alright. Now, this gun has already been cleaned, so I'm not going to go over it too much on how to really clean it. But I'm going to show you guys what I do as far as oiling it. Now, I use two types of oils on my guns. They're both Remington oil, but one is more of a like a surface oil, okay? This is to prevent rusting, and this is Remington oil with Teflon lubricant. This is what I use to, it has a very, very fine spray to it, and this is what I use to put on the outside to keep my bluing from rusting. Because if you live in the state of Florida or anywhere where it's super humid and it's pretty much like drinking a glass of water as soon as you step outside, just taking in a good breath of air, you have to keep your gun oiled all over on the outside constantly or you'll get rusting. And so I constantly keep it oiled. And this is Remington oil, which is just a firearm lubricant. And this is what I use to actually lubricate things. And I'll show you how I do that. I'm actually not going to do it because it's already been done to this gun. But I take a Q-tip, just like this, and I get some of this oil on it. Now, it does come with a spray cap and all that, but I busted the spray cap and it don't really function anymore. So I take the end of my Q-tip and I get some oil on it, and then I try to get most of it off. Okay? And then what I do is on these rails on the frame here, I come up on the rails, and I lubricate these rails on both sides, just a real thin coat. I just go over it one time with the oil on it. I don't even dip it again. And then I come over to my slide, and I lubricate both of the inside rails. Now, because I said I live in Florida and everything rusts really fast, I actually do a little bit extra lubricating that a lot of people say is not needed, so you shouldn't do it. But I do it anyways because where I live, the humidity is really high. So what I do is I take the end of the Q-tip, I dip it again, get most of it off, and then I run the inside of the barrel bushing and the outside of the barrel bushing. I take my rust preventative, really fine mist spray right here. I take this and I spray this guide rod and recoil spring down pretty well. Not excessive, but I do it pretty well. And then I take a microfiber cloth like this one and put some of the lubricant, the actual firearm lubricant from Remington oil, and I wipe down my barrel. I take some more on a Q-tip, or I take a very, very, very light syringe application and put it just in the joints right here of my hammer, and that's about it. I put a little bit just behind this, just right in here where the slide safety is, and just a wee bit, I just kind of leak it in between this magazine release. And like I said, this is mostly because of where I live. There's a lot of sand and a lot of moisture in the air, so I have to keep my gun oiled very well, especially being blued. I've actually had a Remington 22 long rifle, old Sportsmaster 341 that I'm going to do a video on eventually. That I sprayed a lot of this on it, and I wiped it down, but apparently I just didn't do it. I didn't do it enough, or the cloth I used was too dry. Like, I never wash this, so it always has oil on it, a very, very thin coating of oil on it, and that way I don't wipe off too much oil off my gun. But I take, I had it rust orange on me, so by the next morning, and I woke up and I was like, oh man, I wasn't too happy about that. But I also take, and even though nothing really comes into contact with this, I take, and this is dry, so that's why I'm going to do it real quick. I'm going to take and get most of this off right here, just like that. And I'm going to take my Q-tip and run it just on the inside here, just like this. Just like that. I'm going to just wipe it on there real good. Like I said, this is all just because of where I live. And I'll just take my rag and wipe it real quick. Keep any moisture out of it. Now, before I put all this back together, I'll wipe any excess oil off the rails and just leave a really thin coat on both sides. And I'll do the same to the slide. Now, with this spray, the Remington oil with the Teflon lubricant in it, which comes out as a very fine mist, when you spray it on the gun, or even spray it into a rag like this and then wipe it on there, it'll go on wet, but if you let the pistol sit, it'll dry up. And it's actually really not drying up. It's the oil's just kind of thinning out really thin, and it does a really thin layer on it and keeps your gun from rusting. But it does such a thin layer that if I just pick up the gun with my bare hand, I don't get oil all over the place, and it works out perfectly. So we're going to start the reassembly. I'm going to take my slide, and don't be mad if I don't do it the way you do it. But I'm going to take my slide and push my barrel back into the front so it kind of locks down in place. Take this little ring and push it forward. I'm going to take my recoil spring and guide rod. This is a standard GI guide rod. Put that back in there, just as so. Oh, I do. Ooh, I forgot, y'all. I forgot I had to put this firing pin and whatnot back in. Oh, bear with me. So I have a little technique I use to do this with, and I'm going to wipe this down real quick, just so it has a little bit of, just a very thin layer of lubricant on it. But, prevent rust. I'm going to take the spring. Remember what I said about the spring? You got to make sure you're putting it on the right way. You can kind of just screw it right back into where it was, just like that. Alright, then that's ready. I'll take back my slide. I'm going to just put that right back in there. I'm going to take my extractor and put that back in there. Now when I go to put this retaining plate back in, notice there's a number 1 on it right there at the top. I don't know if you can really see that. I'm going to take that and slide that with the rounded off edge, and just like that. Now, this is about the best way I figured out to do it. I'm going to take this little homemade punch I got. I'm going to push down the firing pin as far as it'll go and slide this retainer plate, or what it is, in as far as it'll go. Now you notice it's still not on. That's because I got to take this extractor right here and lift it up just a little bit and I'll feel the pressure move a little bit on this plate. From there, I can take my punch, push my firing pin back in, and everything will just slide back. I can just continue sliding it until the firing pin goes back in. Now we can get back to redoing this slide. So I'm going to put my barrel in, just like that. Rotate that forward. Put my spring back in. Now, I don't put the barrel bushing back in. I do it mostly because this gun is still new. It's only had about 50 rounds through it. So it kind of makes it a little bit difficult to get back in if I put this bushing back on the end of it. And then turn it clockwise so it's just ready to go. But next, I'm going to move this oil out of my way. I'm going to take my slide here, or my frame here, and just slide that back on. Now, if I'm fighting with this any, it's just because it's kind of new, so it kind of takes a little bit of help. There we go. Slide all that back. Push our slide back to the takedown point right here. This first notch right here that you'll see. And I'll take my, you gotta line that piece on that barrel up at the hole just like that. Now I'm going to take my slide stop and I'm just going to drop it in very carefully. Now the old man up there at the gun shop kind of showed me how to do this so I can just snap it in right away. And I'm going to try to do this so y'all can see it and try to get it right at the first time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push forward and I'm going to push down as soon as I feel it snap forward. And if I do it right, I can get it all in one stroke without creating that, what they call the idiot scratch. So if I do it just right, there we go. I can snap it right in place without getting an idiot scratch, scratching up the frame or anything. So that worked. Now I'm going to push this back forward. I'm going to engage my safety so my slide won't move. From here, I'll take my barrel bushing and make sure I line the little bump right here with the bottom space right here on this groove. From there, I'm going to turn it clockwise all the way over. Take my recoil spring plug and put this on. Slide that down. Slide it over. Just like that. Now, I have a fully functioning 1911. Now, once I've finished cleaning it and doing all that, I'll just take my rag and I'll wipe my gloves off real quick so I don't get oil everywhere. And I'm going to take this 1911, I'm going to put the safety on it. Slide safety. I'm just going to wipe down the blue finish real quick just to get all the excess oils off it, any extra from touching it and cleaning it or doing whatever I was doing, and really keep it really nice and well oiled at all times, because Florida will turn your guns orange overnight, sadly enough, especially if they're blued. So we'll clean this off just like that. And what do you guys know? We have a beautiful Colt government model Series 70 1911. Look at that. And just look at the bluing job that this gun has. Look how nice. Now, it is a very high polished blue on all the flat surfaces. If you come to any of these round surfaces, it's almost like a matte finish. Like a matte finish. Anything that's rounded is matte off, including through here, around the trigger guard, and around the front strap, even over the arched mainspring housing. Now, I think I already said this, but I'm not a big fan of the short trigger and the arched mainspring housing. But with this Colt, the mainspring housing don't seem to have a really big hump to it. It's kind of a small hump. So I'm actually kind of starting to like it. I don't mind it. It actually feels pretty comfortable in my hand. I usually like a flat mainspring housing. But I do still have a problem with this short trigger. I don't really like the short trigger because, if you can see, I have very long fingers. But it's still manageable. And it does not have a lowered and flared ejection port, which I like. And I bought this gun really just because of the historics of it, and it stays very true to a historic 1911. It doesn't really change from that, including not having a load and flare ejection port. And to be honest, it kind of does suck a little bit, because the brass, me being 6'5", the brass almost hits me in the face coming back, but instead of going out to the side. But that's alright. It's something you can live with. I can live with. But the only other thing I could say is it has high profile sights, but they're not 3-dot. And even though it won't be staying true to this gun, I'm probably going to put some tritium sights on it. And maybe I won't. I don't know. We'll see in the future. And I'll upload some videos of me at the range with it. And I think that's pretty much all I really wanted to say about it. Other than I absolutely love it. And if I could explain this action to y'all. This action is so smooth. Very, very smooth. It's very, very smooth. It's very smooth action. And even though I've only put 50 rounds through it, it's kind of breaking in a little bit. Because it used to be really tight. I mean, it's got a little bit of rattle to it now, but it was very, very tight. It was so tight, it was very hard to disassemble, but it's very smooth now. And then even with the trigger pull, y'all probably gonna hate me for this. It's a very light, crisp trigger pull. It's probably at like 4.5, maybe. I think at most it might be 4.5 pounds, but it's already a pretty nice trigger job. So it's already a pretty nice trigger as it is, and 1911s are known for their triggers. But thank you very much. I showed you guys how to disassemble your 1911 and showed you a little bit extra with the firing pin and all that. But thank you very much. I appreciate y'all watching, and just keep your eyes open for more videos.